doing a little bit of research today, and I started studying the Yuga cycle. There's four primary Yugas, and I'm not going to get into the Sanskrit words for them and all that stuff because number one, I'll probably mispronounce them, but it's basically there's a golden age, a silver age, a bronze age, and an iron age. And depending on who you follow and depending on what calendar or how they date this, the yugas, the Kali Yuga, which is the Iron Age, the lowest age, which is when we are the least conscious as humanity, when we have the most disconnection from self, when we identify ourselves more on the egoic self versus identifying ourselves from the true self, right, from the higher self, and denying the egoic side. So one of the things that I read, and this is the first time I came across this, and it really kind of makes sense, but it's also like really interesting, is saying that our solar system, as it travels through the galaxy, we are actually revolving around a larger solar system. Like the moon revolves around the earth, and then the earth revolves around the sun, and the sun is like hurtling through space by the gravitational forces of our galaxy, which is spinning everything around that center core. And while we're doing this, our solar system as a whole is also kind of rotating around a larger star, what the author referred to as a super sun, and it's an elliptical orbit that we are in, very much like Halley's Comet. Halley's Comet is a elliptical orbit. It comes in very close, wraps around the sun, and then shoots way out into our galaxy, out of our solar system, and then years later comes back in around, and it's much closer to the sun. So that's our solar system does the same thing around this other solar system, and in this elliptical orbit. So sometimes we're much closer to this other super sun, and other times we're much further away. So when we're at the Iron Age, when we're at the Kali Yuga, we are the furthest away. The elliptical orbit is at its greatest distance from this other solar system, and we are currently in an ascending phase. In other words, we're moving towards this other sun, this super sun, this other system, which is why we are experiencing a much higher degree of consciousness awakening at such a rapid rate. So many hundreds, thousands of people that are reaching a state where they're no longer willing to just accept the status quo, where they're beginning to question everything. They're beginning to question our governments. We're beginning to question our monetary systems, our economy, our global economy. We're beginning to question, our the way that our entire population has been established. Now, keep in mind that one of these Yuga cycles takes about 25,000 years. Half of them, or at one half of the cycle, we go through the iron, the bronze, the silver, and the golden age, and then we come back the other side and we start descending. So currently, right now, we're in an ascending orbit, moving towards this other system. And as we get closer, the function of this other system, the effect that it has on humanity, is that we become more enlightened. We become more aware. Wisdom increases. And our ability to communicate changes. When we're at the absolute lowest, you could explain something, 150 different ways to somebody, and they're still going to misunderstand. They're still going to misinterpret what you said because they're applying it based on their perspectives of the world and how they would react in the same situation that you're describing. But as we move closer to, communication becomes easier, to the point where when we are in the golden age, telepathy is without even saying anything, you would know what the message that I'm trying to portray. And yes, again, it takes thousands of years. The Iron Age itself is around just sort of 2,600 years for us to descend and then ascend in that same age. And then you take that and you multiply that by 2, and that becomes the Dwarpara, I think it is. I don't know the Sanskrit word. The Bronze Age. It's described in a lot of the Vedic traditions as a looking at karma or Brahma as that four-legged bull. When we're at the golden age, the bull is standing on all 4 legs. When we get into the silver, he's standing on 3, so it's now 75% of what the golden age is. You get down into the Bronze Age, and now he's standing on 2. When you get to the Iron Age, he's standing on 1. So all of our connection to spirituality, all of our connection to our higher selves, all of that when we're in the Iron Age is greatly reduced. Now, as we move from one age to the next, there is a twilight of about 100 years and a dawning of about 100 years. So as we move out of the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga, K-A-L-I, as we move out of Kali Yuga, there's the final 100 years of that are what they call the twilight years, and there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of, not necessarily wars itself, but there can be volcanic activity is higher, earthquake activity is higher, the environmental forces are much more at play. There could be famines, there could be droughts, there could be all those kinds of things. And then as we move into the dawning, the 100 years of the dawn of the next age, same thing, but then those calamities, those catastrophes and whatnot begin to kind of lessen and lessen and lessen as you continue on. So we are currently based on who you follow. Some people say that we are in the Kali Yuga. Some people say which is the Iron Age, the lowest age. Some say that we're in the Bronze Age, and we're about to transition into the Silver Age. In one of the traditions that I was studying, they said that the transition is going to take place somewhere around 2025. That's the one that states that we should still be in the Iron Age and moving into the Bronze. And this has nothing to do with the metals. That's just how they differentiate them. We just gave them these themes, if you will. And then the other one that I was reading today said that the transformation is going to come sometime around 2082. So we still have about 65 years or so, whatever, 63 years, however many. I can't do math on the fly. Yes, I can. I'm just lazy. But somewhere around 2082, we're going to transition. But we're currently in the Bronze already, and we're moving into the Silver Age, which I hope that one's right, because I'll still be alive 60 years from now, and at least I intend to be, and I would love to see the world in a more awakened state. I would love to see, and again, this is why so many people are awakening now. This is why enlightenment and meditation and mindfulness and all of these things are really, really at the forefront of our communication, of our dialogue. Yoga is spreading, and I don't mean yoga again like the class you took at the gym. That's a physical exercise course, not necessarily really, really rooted. Not all of them are really rooted in the full Eastern philosophies of yoga, and teach what the yogis from 10,000 years ago taught. But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, the Yuga cycle. So it is not just our calling, but it's our birthright. And isn't it amazing? Think about this for a second. Isn't it amazing that you were born in this era, in this point in time when you could live to see that transition into the next era? But all of the things that are happening right now, all of the craziness around the world, all of the storms and the earthquakes and the tsunamis and the geopolitical systems that just seem to be ready to fall apart, and the leaders of the world that are just kind of nutso right now, that's all the part of the calamities, the catastrophes that we're supposed to experience in order to have our next evolution of consciousness.